Good morning, everyone. KJ here. Uh, it's too cold to be outside right now, and so I'm in here in the house. Hello, Jenny Benny. Good morning to all the Rays out there, y'all. I'm sure many of y'all have read news articles of yesterday's hearing of the Chinster there. So I won't beat it to death, but I do want to point out a few things about yesterday's hearing. And although I haven't had a lot of coffee this morning, I'm gonna have an attempt there, y'all, to give my side of things. Good morning, Edie Ruth, DD Sunshine, Chris Arnett, Fancy Nancy Bergbauer. Good morning, y'all. Yesterday was crazy. Just seeing the bobblehead of the damn Chad Daybell there. His shoulders looked like they were like I don't know, y'all. He looked like his head was twice the size of his body. I bet he thought the other head of his life was something to write home about, but it obviously has become something of the past. Wouldn't y'all agree? Hello, Elba Lopez, Beach Lady, Donna Donald. Good morning, y'all. So, bobblehead is a perfect analogy, says Fancy Nancy. Well, the thing about it is, Fancy Nancy, is a bobblehead, when it stays completely still, that's Chad Daybell. He didn't move a freaking muscle, y'all. I watched him. His chin there, every once in a while, it's like a long thing here, y'all. It's like a big, looks like I don't know, a flesh-colored cucumber or something. It's disgusting. It's bad. It's nasty. He didn't move. He didn't move around. He sat like a freaking dang shell of a man that he is. And did y'all see that haircut on John Pryor? Well, hell, somebody said it. I forgot who it was, but you know who you are. Both of them. It wasn't a bowl cut. It was a plate cut, one of them little saucers. So, I ain't got much room to speak, y'all. I got up. Look at my hair, y'all. I look like a freaking dang Q-tip. Anyway, hello, Olive. Concave shoulders, square head, and buzz cut, says Jenny Benny. I couldn't have said that better. Donna Donald says it's a skater cut. Now, I'll tell you what, Donna. I don't put down skaters, and I know that's not what you meant to do, but these haircuts of John Pryor and Chad Daybell, they look like Bobbsey twins, don't they? Don't they, y'all? So, for those that are in the know and have read articles on what yesterday was about, I want to give my swing on it. Donna Donald says, no, I'm not making fun of them. My sons were skaters back in the 90s. Okay. I never said that. I said, just as I said about turtles. I love turtles. But he does. He reminds me of a deranged turtle. Or, some of y'all said, ribbit, ribbit. It's like a frog. Yeah, Jenny Benny. Jenny Benny says, I thought the little scuff about the DNA and separating trials was interesting. Yeah, good morning, Sam Willow. And we'll get to that. I'm going to try to do this, y'all, without enough coffee. So here we go. The judge had issues at this status conference hearing. I'm going to go through these issues and give my take on it. The first issue that Judge Boyce wanted to discuss was the length of the trial. And, y'all, he is in a death penalty case, and y'all know my opinions. I think at some point they're going to drop that death penalty off the table. At some point, y'all, I just believe it. Something was up yesterday. They had some kind of sealed deal. It was called an ex parte. They were all going to talk about it. y'all recall me saying they're going to get together in some sealed hearing and talk about Chad Daybell's brain damage. Now, that's just a theory. And who the hell experts is going to get that damn asshole out of trouble? What experts are we talking about here? What? It can't be an expert on DNA because John Pryor used that as a damn excuse to sever the cases, and the state is to blame, y'all. That's my view. The state should have had all that shit turned over. So they're equally, in my view. I mean, he's a defense attorney. I'm not taking up for him, but hell, he had an ace in the hole, y'all, to get that case split. But the length of the trial, obviously the state response on all of that was, they think that the court has set this out for 8 weeks, and that's the way the state is going to go on that. And during this time, y'all know April 1st is the trial date there. But they're talking about how they need to get the jury questionnaires and voir dire and all that. So they're looking at the judge setting it for March 18th or the 20th to start doing that process leading up to April 1st. So the state was in agreement of 2 weeks before trial date of April 1st to do that. And the defense, absolutely. How many of us said that John Pryor was going to try to drag his ass even more? Well, he didn't. He said he agrees with the court's analysis. 2 weeks before the trial, John Pryor, he knows he doesn't have an argument now. He doesn't have an argument. His damn nasty-ass client has been sitting in jail for a very long time. That's exactly where he needs to be. Protect society and people from that damn asshole. But the next issue that the judge went over would be cameras in the courtroom. And it's my understanding on all of that Judge Boyce brought up yesterday, hey, when we severed these cases, I left the possibility in the final order that we would revisit this for Chad Daybell because the decision had been made over the hussy. So that's something that we can kind of hope for. And John Pryor says that his client, the nasty-ass Chad Daybell, is still wanting a public trial. Think about it like this, y'all. This is a death penalty case. This should be an open public trial. I would think that Chad Daybell would want the world to see how this is done and everything like that, to give him his best chance of a on-the-level trial, which, by the way, he's got to know, y'all. He's got to know that he's going down. Maybe he's wanting to send signals out here to all his stupid-ass people out here that believe his crap. I'm willing to martyr myself, or whatever. But the state does not want cameras in the courtroom. And they're going to turn in a motion on that, y'all. I believe, November the 29th? They're going to revisit this issue of cameras. And the state's going to have a motion. And they're going to they're going to copy and paste their rationale for not having cameras in the courtroom. From Lori to Chad, their position's the same. But in some ways, John Pryor kind of says, well, we need to revisit this, although my client is still open to cameras in the courtroom. I do believe, y'all, at this juncture, that the only way that John Pryor can really be put in the limelight at this point, and I believe it, y'all, he's gonna stay open. He's not going to counsel his client to not have cameras. But let's just be clear, y'all. If John Pryor goes ahead and says, my client still wants it to be public, and he wants cameras in the courthouse. It is on the record, and it cannot be used as an appeal issue. Because if John Pryor says, yes, we want cameras, it's in the record, an appellate court would look at that and say, well, they wanted them, so they can't get the argument that there was too much publicity or anything like that. Fancy Nancy says, seems like the state would want cameras and defense wouldn't. Kathy says, I did say it would guarantee no one would get drunk. There you go. That's funny. If no cameras, I wonder if Chad's kids will attend the trial. Well, Jenny Benny, Chad's children will absolutely be there sitting behind their dad. They will absolutely be there. They were there at his arraignment where he said, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. They're going to be there for their father. They're locked in. They've already gone out on Dateline. They've already said if Lori would have never come along, none of this would have ever happened. That this was all Lori and Alex. Y'all know John Pryor has got his narrative, his defense. The question is, will he go for a mental health defense? Lori didn't. I was shocked. I think they knew she was going to get her way anyway. They knew because she had been in the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare's care for that 10 months in the spa there. They knew that that was going to secure her some mitigation to keep her out of the firing squad there. Don't y'all find it interesting that at Lori's trial, they never talked about anything that went on with Lori, Colin McConkie, and how she was so about herself, why she was in that spa? That's just my view. It's very interesting, is it not? Hello, Dodging Bullets. Kathy says Chad's kids will be there, and Garth has to be to testify, in my view or opinion, says Kathy Mama Bear. Yeah. Y'all, we're going to start getting once a month. They're going to have pre-trial dates set up every month up until the trial. So I believe, and I'm sure many of y'all believe, that we're going to be able to see this process unfold pre-trial and up to the trial. Some have brought up, well, you know, they met in a sealed hearing yesterday, ex parte. Is this possibly John Pryor wanting to bring it to the state's attention? Who his experts are in what, y'all? That Chad Daybell, y'all, this is just my view. I could be wrong. That he's going to say that he's got brain damage or something. That's what I think's going to happen. Pryor with a Pryor, a.k.a. PWAP, makes a snarky remark about how they will be putting on a defense. Yes, Kathy Mama Bear. They're going to put on a defense. What is that defense? What's it going to look like? I can tell y'all right now, there is no doubt. We've seen it through just little bits and pieces at Chad's preliminary hearing. They're going to go after Melanie Gibb, Zulema, David Warwick. I believe Melanie Pulaski is going to be in the trial. I believe the defense is going to do everything they can to paint them as the freaked out, nasty ass people they are, to distract from the fact that his client is a freaking serial killer. Jenny Benny says, just read Chad's books, and that proves he has brain damage. Well, that's actually a good point, Jenny Benny. Will John Pryor bring out any of that about Chad's novels? You know, he wanted to explore things with Melanie Gibb when she was on the stand, and the state wouldn't have it. Dodging Bullet says this has to be on camera. It's a death penalty case. Well, I guess if I done my homework, dodging bullets, I could look and see, have there ever been death penalty cases where there's no cameras in the courtroom? We know on a federal level, they don't allow cameras in the courtroom, but on a state level, are there people that have been tried for these serious murders that had no cameras in the courtroom? I'll have to look. Maybe some of y'all know off the top of your head. So, in terms of cameras in the courtroom, there should be separate rationale. When I say separate rationale, when they separated Lori and Chad's trial, you can't blanket what Chad's trial is going to be by Lori's trial, because they're two separate defendants, although I will say they're co-conspirators. Well, there has to be a separate rationale. Does that mean, and John Pryor even said it, there's just a difference here. And y'all remember a while back they said one of the reasons John Pryor wanted to separate the trial in the first place was because there was different things that they wanted to bring out as opposed to Lori's side of things. And we found out that Archie and Thomas was just attorneys sitting at the table. They didn't do much, y'all. They gave her adequate representation, but they had to abide by what she wanted. That's why, if I'd have been a defense attorney and I had a client that was in her position, I don't give a shit what she said. Of course, if she was just dead set against something, I can't go against my client. So it makes me realize that she had a firm hand in how she wanted things to look in her trial. And John Pryor, I believe, y'all, he's got an absolute narrative that he's going to work off of, and he's going to take that narrative and he's going to build off of it. I'm still stuck, y'all, on his many experts. Y'all, I don't believe it. I don't believe that they've got the money for that shit. I think this is another bluff from John Pryor. How many freaking experts? For what? It can't be about DNA, right? Or could it? Could one of the experts be like, well, the state has this evidence of the DNA on the pickaxe, and we're going to bring an expert in here to say that DNA analysis could be corrupted, or something could be wrong, just to try to put a seed of doubt in there. There's a possibility he's got an expert for DNA, not from DNA that his ass didn't test. And we have got confirmation, y'all. There is not going to be any more DNA tested. We got what we got. The defense has got to figure out what to do with the state's evidence on the DNA. Perhaps an expert's going to handle it. So John Pryor, when they're discussing cameras in the courtroom, he wants everyone to know, y'all. He wants everyone to know that he's been bombarded with emails from media organizations wanting to get with him. He says it. He says, Pryor goes on to say that the media has basically bombarded his email on the issue at hand. He hasn't responded to any of them, and I'm glad he hasn't, because that could screw things up. And Pryor expects that the court will jump on the inquiry of the media. In other words, John Pryor saying, just as we've seen in the case file on Lori, and even before their cases were severed, media organizations left and right and left, were filing documents saying we want cameras in the courtroom, or, we want to see this or whatever. And every time, y'all, in Lori's, it was denied by the judge. They did have a still camera in Lori's sentencing. But Chad Daybell has not changed his position on a public trial. But a final hearing is needed on the issue, and motions will be filed. December setting on a hearing will be scheduled. But then they backed up and said November 29th at 9:30 a.m., y'all. We're going to find out on November 29th whether there are going to be cameras in the courtroom. The state talked about they've got three motions that they want heard. This is when the talk of Judge Boyce said, well, we need to start meeting once a month, and he was going to get those dates together. So if any of if we're concerned on, well, okay, are we going to see this pre-trial stuff? Yes, y'all. And also, we found out that there was an ex parte, that things that have to be discussed by both parties and the judge was going to be sealed. And obviously, y'all, common sense says that's protected information. Protected information. What could all that mean? Is it protected information on here John Pryor saying, this is my expert state, and this is what I want them to testify about? Or is this John Pryor in this sealed hearing yesterday talking about, we have an expert who's going to come in and talk about what, y'all? Religiosity. That Chad Daybell was so just, he was just following his religion. That, what is this? Someone said, this dude from Mormon Stories, John DeLynn. What if John Pryor brings that up? Well, I don't know. Hello, Carrie Ann. Nothing has really changed, y'all, in terms of the way that John Pryor has operated through all this. He always seems to say, it's almost like you can see it when he talks about, well, as the state is aware, I've got many experts. It's like he wants the state to wonder, what John Pryor's going to do, that John Pryor is doing this veiled threat, that he's going to blow the state out of the water and all this and that. Y'all, they've got a conviction on that asshole's hussy. Life in prison. The state needs to be confident now. And the state also brought up, y'all, that there are other things, other details, other evidence of Chad Daybell. And we knew this to be true anyway. Yeah, DD Sunshine, when you say the state has to show their cards, well, so does the defense. Because there can't be any Perry Mason moments here. The state gives over all the discovery. The state does not have to let John Pryor know what their work product is. John Pryor's left with a table full of discovery wondering how the state is going to use it. But then again, he already knows a lot, right? He was there with Lori at her trial. He's sitting in there. He was there just about every day. I'm sure he didn't really have to be there. All he had to do was get a copy of, the minutes, or, he's already gotten the transcript, right? But he wanted to be there. He wanted to showboat. He wanted the state to know that he is going to actively defend his client, and I don't want it any other way. I want John Pryor to look like he is competent, that he knows what he's doing, because when that asshole gets convicted, there ain't going to be none of this ineffective assistance of counsel shit. Does anyone know if Lolo gets the death penalty, will they prevail over the life sentence? Like, will they put her on death row immediately and chuck the Idaho sentence? Eric Jasper, Lori's going to spend the rest of her life in Idaho. It is going to, the jurisdictional and the way that that's set up, The first conviction, she's got to play it out. Arizona needs to get a conviction for justice for Charles Vallow, for Brandon Boudreaux. But the bottom line is she's never leaving Idaho, except in a pine box. Whatever. If she gets the death penalty in Arizona, it doesn't matter that over there in Arizona, that's a worse penalty there, or punishment, that she goes over there. No, she'll stay in Idaho for the rest of her days. This Arizona indictment, the fact that they want to extradite her, it's a little too soon, too late, but folks, Charles Vallow and Brandon Boudreaux deserve their justice. The families of Charles and Brandon deserve justice. And, you know, she's going to get to go on a little mini vacay going to Arizona, where it's not so cold over there. She's going to get to go in different, she's going to stay in a jail cell during her Arizona trial, where they'll feed her better and treat her better, so that when she's done and she gets convicted in Arizona, she can really miss the fact that she was in Arizona and she knows what the hell she's going back to. Right, Eric Jasper. It's sad that they can't trump that. Wasted good air and space. Well, I'll tell you what, Eric. It does my heart good to know that she's going to rot away in Pocatello Women's Prison. It does my heart good. Because you want to do that shit, you better reap what you sow. Eric says, I heard that Lori was in full panic knowing she was going to Arizona. I don't know if that's true, though, says Eric. Well, that's a nice thought, Eric, anyway. Fancy Nancy says, just getting another guilty will be good justice. And the Hellcat legend, you don't tell me not to smoke. You need to leave. How about that? And any of y'all want to come on here and report these people that ain't got shit to contribute other than their own bullshit. These people come on here. They come on here and they want to tell me, a 52-year-old woman, not to smoke. Give me a break. How about you stop doing some of the shit you do? Huh? Oh, you lead a perfectly healthy life, huh? You don't overtake and do anything. You do nothing wrong. But you want to take it upon yourself to tell a total stranger to quit smoking? Give me a break. Get a life. Thank you, Beach Lady. Kathy Mama Bear says I lit another one. Right, Grammy B. These people, what it is they come on to a live stream, say they're scrolling through YouTube, and they see someone live, and they want to go on there and they want to pick at them because they themselves don't want to take a look at themselves. They're too busy judging others. Freaking dang strangers. Rita Mae's resale sales, it's coffee and cig time. Cindy Bullock, as always, says smoke them if you got them. And I will. So how many on here believe that this will absolutely play out in a death penalty case? We're actually, whether the cameras are there or not, we're going to get to see Chad Daybell in a death penalty case. That's going to really take up a lot of time. But what's interesting about it is they say 8 weeks was the original from what the judge was saying. The state agreed with 8 weeks. John Pryor believed that it would be okay for 8 weeks. They've got to know that 8 weeks has got to be enough for a death penalty case. How many weeks did Lori's trial go without the death penalty? Anybody got any ideas on whether or not 8 weeks is enough for a death penalty case? Erica is bringing out the fact that Chad has all faith and confidence in John Pryor. Fancy Nancy says, I really regretfully think it will be no death penalty, but I pray it because he pleads guilty. Y'all, I just don't see Chad Daybell pleading guilty. Kathy says it should be enough time, 8 weeks. You think about 2 weeks for voir dire and jury questionnaires. They've got to attack that concept of who's going to sit on a jury that would be willing or not willing to give out the death penalty. There's extra formatted wording involved in a death penalty case. Make no mistake, y'all, John Pryor will be filing some appellate issue documents saying that the death penalty is unconstitutional, just as Archie tried to do. Kathy says the 8 weeks is after the voir dire. Right, let me just specify that. 2 weeks before the April 1st plus 8 weeks. That'd be 10 whole weeks. Olive says, I don't think it'll go to trial. He'll want to plead, see him going through that, his kids sitting there, etc. Well, he didn't have a problem going through his preliminary hearing. He didn't have a problem doing all that he's been doing all this time. He don't give a crap about his kids. If he did, he would do exactly that. I hope Pryor wears a ski mask so we won't have to look at him. And one for Chud too says, dodging bullets. Fancy Nancy wants to know whether or not Tammy is in the morgue or not. Well, they did the exhumation back at the end of 2019 and they put her right back in her cemetery plot. They did what they had to do. So she's buried. Eric says, I think Chad was oblivious that day they found the kids, and he still is. Wouldn't surprise me if he's got his faith in God that somehow he will forgive this. Carrie Ann says, I really hope that they will release those kiddos soon since they won't be doing any more DNA testing. Carrie Ann, that's a great point. I saw Krisha K. Easton's Difficult Research live stream yesterday. Kay Woodcock, her mother, Krisha's mom on there. It's something I think we've all talked about. We all want to see it happen. Put those children to rest. I guarantee you, if the family is willing, Mr. Wayne and OKJ will go to any memorial service for their family. We love them. We care for them. We want to be there for them. We want to support them in any way that we can. Nana Donald says they need to give the kids to the family for a proper burial and service. Those kids need to have a decent memorial, says Grammy B. And Grammy B says, I want to go. Right, Rita Mays Resale. I agree with that. Pryor did use the more testing and experts to get trials severed. And it worked. But then again, he couldn't have used that argument if the state wouldn't have drugged their ass on it. So they're both equally wrong on it, y'all. I think the state was using that death penalty on the table with Lori for leverage all that time, hoping she'd come to the table. Isn't that what Rob Wood said to Summer Shiflett? He said, we're hoping she'll come to the table. She never did. She wanted to, sit there and hop up and down in her chair. She wanted the limelight. She got the limelight. Now, the only limelight she's going to get now, y'all, is in a woman's prison, possibly lighting up her life with another woman. Olive says Pryor doing no testing means that they should release those poor babies for burial. And I agree with that. I agree with that. That's something that the family has been traumatized over. All of us have tried every way that we can to bring that point across. I think there was a petition at one time. Dodging Bullet says, no doubt Lolo has a girlfriend by now and she is settled in and happy. That makes me so sick. Well, Dodging Bullets. Lori the hussy is disassociated herself from the whole thing. She can act all happy all she wants. The bottom line is she's never going to be free again. She's never going to get to enjoy the things that she had, that she was ungrateful about. I will be going to the one in Rexburg when it happens. 4 years is way too long for those precious kiddos to be left in the freezer. Absolutely breaks my heart, says Carrie Ann. And Kathy Mama Bear agrees with you, Carrie Ann. Grammy B says, I wonder if Pryor knows he can only hope for life in prison. Well, Grammy B, if John Pryor's got it in his mind that somehow he can get Chad Daybell off the hook, he's living in a freaking Disney World altered state of reality. He knows. He knows. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if John Pryor's like, well, they took the death penalty off the table for Lori. Well, it's like a, what's the words I want to say? It's like a template. All you have to do, if you go out here and murder a bunch of people, all you have to do is pretend to be crazy, be put in a freaking facility for 10 months, and you get out of doing, you kill people, but you don't get killed yourself. Dodging Bullet says Chud is going down. I think John Pryor thinks that somehow, some way, he's going to put together something in sealed hearings. That, I mean, why wouldn't he try to do that? He ain't got nowhere else to turn, right? He's got to make it look like Chad has either got some mental illness or brain damage or something. Or maybe John Pryor will take advantage of a mental health defense that Lori did not. Wouldn't that be interesting to peer into John Pryor's idea of what Chad was thinking and what his problems were? Y'all, his problem was a freaking evil, diabolical serial killer. Ramona Fisley says, give Chad a couple of decades in prison and I guarantee you he'll be praying for death. Kathy Mama Bear, you're right. I believe it. He is going to fight to the end. And y'all, this goes back to what I've said, and I'm going to continue to say it. John Pryor can't handle a death penalty case by himself, y'all. He's going to have to bring someone else on board. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he have an investigator or something doing something? Or was that Lori's attorneys? Of course, they had, you know, the tit of the taxpayer. Archie and Thomas did for Lori. John Pryor can't handle this by himself. And just as I said before, wouldn't it be just a damn shame if John Pryor's like, well, we can play the long game. I'll handle this. We'll send it off to the appellate court. The appellate court will have to answer the question, did one attorney who wasn't death penalty certified do a proper representation of this asshole? Granny Whisperer says that Chad was either drugged or very scared yesterday. Well, Granny, that's a point there. What if Chad Daybell is taking medication? I.e., John Pryor wants to talk to the state in a sealed hearing about what he's taking the medication for. I'm not here to confirm that Chad Daybell's taking anything, but you would have to believe that this man who all this time, when Lori was deemed incompetent and her behavior on top of it all, you think that John Pryor and Chad weren't sitting there under their breath going, yep, the worse she looks, the more easier it would be for jurors to say, that woman's a nut job, her brother was a nut job. Chad Daybell, he ain't done nothing. He was sucked into all this. But Kathy Mama Bear says Chad always sits like a statue during hearings. Imagine how scared JJ was when he was being murdered. Well, dodging bullets, I just don't want to think about that. Today, I think about JJ, Tylee, Tammy, Charles, Joe Ryan. I think of them in beautiful, perfect peace. Trust you me, dodging bullets. We're going to see it replayed again. Wonder if Chad Daybell's going to throw a little shit fit and say, I don't want to see the autopsy photos. And the judge will have to rule that Chad has to sit there and look at them. Dodging Bullet says too much death around them, too, for anyone to be innocent. I understand dodging bullets. And trust you me, Chad Daybell needs to be scared. He needs to understand that Idaho has cleared the way for a firing squad. And I think things are going to look a little different, y'all. We think we know everything that Chad was involved in. And we've got the facts behind us to prove that he's a freaking guilty serial killer. But there are going to be other things. Y'all remember when we started hearing about this Lolly Time email account of Lori's that we knew nothing about. And Lori and Chad are sitting there talking about giving pain to the children, which Cresha K. Easton talks about. Isn't it interesting that it's always about giving the pain to the children? Eric, John Pryor has to give off an air of confidence in his defense of Chad Daybell. The one thing I will say, I'm a little shocked because I really thought he would come in yesterday and say that the April 1st trial date is just not acceptable, or to continue to string along the state about DNA and his experts. He didn't do that either. He is ready. Whether he thinks he can win it or not, went along with the state on at least two issues. One issue being the length of the trial. Also, at this point, until we get to the November 29th hearing on cameras, he has stated that his client still wants cameras. And I'll tell you something, y'all. And who brought it up here? Carrie Ann says, I think Chad will look at them. He has a really cold heart. And I believe he took part in everything done to those precious kiddos. Someone that can chop a child up has no soul whatsoever. Y'all, there was never, ever, wasn't going to be any testimony in Lori's trial that they thought Lori had done the hands-on stuff. They didn't have to. She's still evil and diabolical. But what was brought out, you would have to believe that Chad did not know that Alex was on his property using a pickaxe when there is evidence that he was through his own damn cell phone. It showed quite clearly that Chad Daybell didn't have a problem picking up that pickaxe. Does anyone want to believe that Alex did all the heavy lifting? Y'all remember me, 2 years ago? I think Alex probably did all the heavy lifting. But I didn't know about the DNA evidence on the pickaxe. I didn't know about these things they found. Tylee's little charms on her bracelet y'all, when Alex Cox went to Del Taco, Chad Daybell was still on the freaking property, tying up loose ends. There's no way a jury could see reasonable doubt that John Pryor puts out here that this was all Alex at Lori's behest. Because they have proof that Alex was out there. But it cannot be reasonable doubt when you take into totality the text messages, the things that were done. John Pryor will bring out in the trial, in my opinion. Hey, when Melanie Gibb was over there, was Chad anywhere? No, it was Lori and Alex. When, was it Chad that brought JJ in the house on his shoulder? No. But I'll tell you what came out was when Chad Daybell took JJ upstairs. I wanted to beat that man senseless. I wanted to beat his damn brains out. How dare he even touch little JJ? Yeah, well, Kathy Mama Bear, OKJ does not believe that I need, a moderator per se, because this is a little itty bitty channel. It's open. It's an open channel. And so my hope is that some of y'all could at least take a moment and report these people, because if 2 or more people are reported, they're going to get knocked off of YouTube. Eric says, what I really want to see is him, John Pryor, get a hold of Melanie and David and Zuzu. That hopefully will lead to them being charged with complicity to commit premeditated murder of multiple people. Well, Eric, at this point, although we know that Melanie Gibb and David Warwick, Zuzu and Melanie P and all them are scumbags, the state has to show that their witnesses have some kind of credibility, use immunity, whatever you want to call it. I have always had to accept the fact that these other cult members will probably never see the inside of a jail cell, in this case anyway. They might end up on the 5 o'clock news down the road because they're all freaking freaks. Fancy Nancy says, I must have reported too much because I'm blocked from blocking. Thank you, Fancy Nancy. That broke my heart so bad when I heard about that, the fear those kids had to have. They said Tylee was very smart. The only thing I did pray was whatever they did, I prayed it was quick. Right, Eric. It's hard to look back on the actual crimes themselves. I'm not turning away from that, y'all. It's just, at this point, all I want to do now is to see specificity of other issues that Chad Daybell was involved in that proves, what we already know, that he's a murdering serial killer. That's what I want. I want to see other things, because y'all, it knocked the damn breath out of me to go through Lori's trial. It did, to know everything that for the most part, my major priority thought was, how are these family members of JJ, Tylee, and Tammy, and Charles, how are they handling this? God help them. I prayed for them. Folks, I wouldn't be surprised if people that come on here and troll, if they decide they want to report OKJ just to mess with me. It is what it is. They've got to live with it. Maybe it gets their rocks off, Maybe it makes them feel, Because they sure ain't thinking. They just want to feel, right? They knew, and I believe JJ was already gone when they brought him through the house asleep. I couldn't do it, KJ. I dare them to make a deal off my child's demise. I'm going to tell you what, Chad Daybell, if we think Lori's going to have it rough in prison, Chad Daybell, he's going to have it so bad. So bad. So the next date that we have, y'all, is November the 29th at 9:30 a.m. in the morning. We're going to get a once and for all answer. We can pretty much go back through the court file and look at the state's motion on not wanting cameras in Lori's trial to see exactly what their position is going to be. It's a copy and paste. But what will John Pryor do? Will he stick to his guns because his client wants a public hearing, trial? Or will John Pryor say, you know what? We're not going to do it. Y'all, I really believe John Pryor is going to be for cameras. This is his last rodeo, y'all. This is John Pryor's last time to shine. And with that decision, if it does happen that John Pryor says, yes, I want cameras, and the state says, no, I don't want cameras, whose case is this to try? It's the state's case, y'all. It's the state's case. And more, I guess what you'd say, the judge is going to look more at the party that's putting on the case, the state, in the decision there. And Judge Boyce also is going to have to keep in mind that he ruled that Lori would not have cameras in the courtroom. So it does not matter if John Pryor wants cameras there all day, every day. The judge has got to balance that out, y'all. He's going to have to balance that out somehow to where it looks fair to the state and fair to the defense. And when you have opposing opinions about cameras, y'all know it. I don't mean to say it, but I got to say it. The judge is going to go for something that he knows is going to secure this due process so that it does not get picked off in appeal. What's interesting about it, y'all, we've said it many times. No one ever asks the victim's family members what they want. It's always about the state and the defense. Granny Whisperer, I do believe John Pryor is going to write a book. He's going to make him some money. Isn't that what it's all about? It's just going to be an uphill battle, y'all. Jenny Benny says it. Since they didn't allow cameras for Lori's trial, it'd be different if the state and John Pryor said, yes, we want cameras. But it's just not going to, it doesn't look good, y'all. It doesn't. And by the way, regardless of whether it's cameras or not, y'all, we have got to start getting focused on helping Cresha K. Easton of Difficult Research get ready for an upcoming trial. Y'all, it's going to be here before you know it. We did it once. We got through this and with support for Cresha and her family with the hussy. Now it's time to see this through for the Chin's trial. Not to mention, y'all, the family's also got to deal with Arizona. Although I will not be covering Arizona, the bottom line is that Cresha's going to need all the help she can get. She's on a fixed income. She's not going to tell you all this. And she hasn't told me to tell anybody this. This is me talking to y'all. Cresha needs help, financial help. That's the bottom line. She'd never go for it. She sees it as people loving her and supporting her family. And there are a lot of ways that some of y'all, maybe some of y'all aren't able to. Maybe y'all can't. Maybe you're on a fixed income yourself. Just be there to be emotionally supportive. I know you will. I know there's a lot of love on this channel. Carrie Ann, the reason that the state doesn't want cameras in the courtroom is because they don't want an appeals issue. That's what it's all about. They don't want it to be a freaking circus. And y'all, there were no cameras in the courtroom for Lori. Did it not end up being a circus? This family of these victims had to deal with all of that going on when all they wanted to do was sit down and deal with the justice system on the death of their loved ones. Donna Donald says, like and sharing Cresha's videos helps too. That's right. That's right, Donna Donald. Hi, Mike from Ohio. How you doing? I hadn't seen you in a while. Emmy Lou, if there's no cameras there in Chad's trial, which there might be, y'all, but I doubt it. Yes, Emmy Lou. There will be cameras in there for sentencing on Chad Daybell. Because why? Because they did it for the hussy. So there's nothing that they're not going to be able to keep that from happening. Olive says, I'm on a fixed income, but I'll do what I can when I can. Well, thank you, Olive. And thank all of y'all. KJ's not asking anybody on here to do anything that I haven't done myself. And I'm thankful that I get the opportunity to do what I can for the victims' family members. That is an honor to me. Because how many criminal trial cases have we watched over the many years that all we were able to do at the end of a trial say, oh, I'm going to pray for that family. It's over. They got justice. And then what happens? People turn the page and go on to the next one. They don't never get to meet the victims. They don't get to know the victims. They don't get to see the fallout of the trauma of these victims. And for Cresha, in many of her days of her life where she feels that vulnerability, there should be people stepping up to give her strength. That's just my view. She's a beautiful, loving, caring woman. Jason's wonderful. Larry and Kay Woodcock. Cresha's other uncles. Charles's brothers who used to play baseball with Charles when they were kids. The many things that have touched my life in getting to meet Cresha and her family that will be some of the most defining moments in my life, the things that they have taught me just by the way they are in their family and how strong they are and how loving. It's an absolute opposite, y'all, of what Chad and Lori, all of these cult members, how they interacted about themselves and their families. Donna Donald says, Fancy Nancy, buying things in the Merc store does help Cresha. Yes, and I hear there's this awesome tote that's got Cresha's name on it and KJ's name on it and the Ray's name on it. It's awesome. Pretty awesome. Y'all know I still have some KJ and the Ray coffee cups. They don't sell them anymore, but I've got them. Justice Through Understanding. It's a black cup. I still have about 4 or 5 of them. I'm putting them on the auction block because you ain't going to get them nowhere else. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to get Cresha's email and I'm going to give them away here and there just for whatever reason. And then whoever receives it needs to contact Cresha at her email in order for KJ to send the cup to you. I will gladly pay for all postage or whatever to send it your way. That's what I want to do. It's not much, but it's something. Mike from Ohio says, what could Chad's defense possibly could be? I mean, they found those kids buried in his backyard, brutalized. That's enough for the death penalty right there. Mike from Ohio. The state has to at least show a healthy inference that Chad Daybell actually used the pickaxe or some implement and the burning of the limb debris. You know what I mean? They've got to show the heinous nature of Chad Daybell. He's disgusting. There ain't nothing between any woman's legs worth murdering innocent lives. Right, Eric. Gresha is a force to be reckoned with, along with her parents. God bless them. Hey, 1979 ACR. So I'm going to do that, y'all. I'm going to try to start stepping up on that. I'm going to keep an eye on the court filing, whatever they file, and I'll try to post what I can on the community wall. It does my heart good to know that they're going to be meeting once a month. We're going to be able to know a little bit more as we go along through this judicial process. We're going to be seeing at least until or if the death penalty is taken off the table, how things go. I'm going to be printing out voir dire and jury questions that pertain to what people have to know in order for them to answer questions on a death penalty case, which is different than a regular trial, criminal trial. Sam Willis says Chad could say he buried them, but he didn't know how or why they died. That's why Tammy will be his undoing. Great point there, Sam Willow. The bottom line is everyone in that jury box in Lori's trial showed us all that they believed Tammy had been murdered. That is an absolute home run from Lori's trial going into Chad's trial. Because if a jury can believe that Chad murdered his wife, which we know that he did, with the help of Alex or not, he was there. The bottom line is that is an absolute home run. Because that was the hardest part right there for Lori. Think about this. Lori wasn't there when Tammy was murdered. She wasn't anywhere there. She was in Hawaii. And they still convicted her ass on conspiracy to commit murder. So is it going to be a stretch that Chad Daybell, the husband of this beautiful woman, loving woman, this woman who was a mother, who was an educator, who helped other people. Chad Daybell did not see this going on around him. He did. Lori and Alex did all of this to Tammy, and Chad just so happened. But let's just throw in there that Chad absolutely knew that the children were already dead. So it ain't like, oh, Tammy, she died overnight. My son Garth was there. She had failing health and all this and that. And at the same time, a juror has to say, Chad Daybell is telling Melody Gibb on the secret recording she had failing health and all this. And he damn well knew those children were dead. So if he knew those children were dead, is it a stretch to think that Chad Daybell knew this wasn't natural causes? So whatever his defense is going to be, we know what it's going to be, y'all. I can tell you. I think all of y'all can agree on this, or at least most of you. Lori and Alex did all this, and Chad didn't do none of it. That's how evil demons operate. They do the damage, they do the evil deeds, and then they try to scurry away like a freaking cockroach. Good morning, Liza Joe. One day we are going to hear, not in the distant future, y'all. One day down the road here, during trial, at Chad's trial, we're going to hear stuff that's going to make the hair on the back of our necks stand straight up about Chad Daybell. Was it a stretch to want to put to death Lori Daybell? Was it a stretch? Is it a stretch that this man, whether you believe he was a mastermind or not, he was so busy trying to keep at bay his damn hooker, when she asked, are they down to zero yet? He knew his time was coming, y'all. He knew that he was going to get to unleash that nasty ass, evil axe pick, y'all. That's what he was going to do. He was getting off on the fact that he was fixing to do that. He's burnt toast, says Jenny Benny. Sam Willis says toast. He's toast. Well, let me tell you something. Bubba's going to be eating a lot of freaking toast of Chad Daybell. He's going to be chewing it up nice and slowly with Chad Daybell. Bubba's going to have a really nice time with the toast, with the added extra butter. Oh, Lord. And I can't wait for the witnesses that were not in Lori's trial. There are going to be other ones, y'all. There are going to be other witnesses that are going to come in there and blow Chad Daybell out of the water. He's cooked, says Olive. Got my fork ready, a pitchfork, says Olive. So y'all leave your comments on the replay. You don't have to watch it again. Just remember what I said about Cresha. It's so important, y'all. And if you haven't read basically the points of yesterday's hearing and you just want to learn a little bit more, I'll post East Idaho News article on the community wall. By the way, on an unrelated matter, y'all. You know, KJ got all deep down and depressed when I did something stupid last week, and that was dip in on the Timothy Ferreter case. They're supposed to find out this morning if he's going to testify in his own behalf. Timothy Ferreter put his child in a box. I'm interested to know about that because why, y'all? Not because I want to follow another case. I want to take anything and apply it to the Chad and Lori Daybell case. That's what I want to do. So, y'all have a great day. I love you all. Thank y'all. And please, y'all, just know this. I apologize that there are trolls that come on here and say the things they do. Again, this is just a little itty-bitty channel. I appreciate all of y'all who've been proactive about it. But ultimately, as these once a month status pre-trial things happen, my heart and my priority goes to Cresha K. Easton of Difficult Research on that. Yes, I can follow it up with a coffee with KJ, but the bottom line is my focus is going to be on her and her views on everything that we hear. So I love you all. Kathy Mama Bear, Eric Jasper, Fancy Nancy, 1979 ACR, Olive Heatley, Jewel Box News. All of y'all, love is a 4-letter word. How you doing? Y'all, I love you all. We'll get back together soon. If you hear anything on anything, always know that you can go onto the community wall. It don't even have to be a related post, and just put it in there because I read all the comments. Right, Grammy Whisper. Well, it's just one attack after another on OKJ. It's par for the course, right? Y'all have a great day. I love you. And keep on looking.